Welcome to the Best Sports Betting Podcast, where we'll talk about reviews, previews, tips and all things betting related. Brought to you by bestsportsbetting.co.za. Now, on to our hosts.
How's punters? Welcome back to the Best Sports Betting Podcast. This is the second segment of today's podcast, and we're going to be chatting about the Community Shield, some upcoming golf, and a few other upcoming sports. Simon, did you manage to catch the Community Shield over the weekend?
Yes, I did, Rob. It was funny to see Liverpool go to penalties again and lose. Sorry for all the Liverpool fans out there, but yeah, that's a tough wrap. But I guess at the end of the day, the Premier League's wrapped up, and so is the Champions League. So can you really blame them for coming in and putting in a fairly average performance?
Yeah, especially considering that the Community Cup, Community Shield isn't exactly the most prestigious competition to win. Who do they put up against? It's the FA Cup winner against the league winner. That's the one. Eh?
That's right.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, you've got Arsenal who've now won the FA Cup and the Community Shield. So, I mean, are they someone to look out for next season? Maybe a top 4 finish is on the cards?
I don't know. I mean, I must say I can't look past Man City next season. I know obviously the transfer everyone's talking about is Messi moving on over there, which would be interesting. I'm not convinced it's necessarily the best time to pay obviously top money for a player who's potentially. I mean, he's
over the hill.
Certainly out of his prime, but he is over the hill. I think that it'll certainly add to the squad. I'm not sure, or he'll add to the squad at least. I'm not sure if that would be the best move. I think it'll depend on the price. But just going back to this game, it was a fairly good game. Aubameyang, I never pronounce his name. Aubameyang, yeah. He netted first with a beautiful strike in the top right corner. It was a great goal. Yeah, and Liverpool kind of they had plenty of chances after that, but they always seemed to kind of be chasing the game. But it was good to see their new Japanese star Minamino, and he actually got the equalizer before they went to penalties. As I said, it wasn't the most impressive showing by Liverpool, but you can say the name for me, Rob, again, because I'm going to mess it up.
Yeah, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
He finished the penalties 5-4 for the Gunners because Ryan Brewster hit the crossbar for Liverpool, unfortunately. So that killed their chances of taking the Shield. But a good game overall. I think Liverpool will be a bit disappointed, but as I said, it's very hard at this point in the season. There's not much to play for them. I think they've got their heads already in 2021.
And I agree. And Arsenal, I think it's more about kind of, I don't want to say damage control, but just trying to make the most of what they can. And they certainly had a good close to the football season. And Simon, we've also got some tennis coming up. The US Open, it's on at the moment. It started yesterday, I believe, on Monday. And we've got a few interesting matchups. But I wanted to chat to you about some of the outright winners where there might be some value. Have you had a look at any of the outright kind of straight up winners?
I have, yes. I seem to be between tennis and golf, I seem to be sort of alone. Not many fellow fans to talk to us about. So I always enjoy having a bit of a rant about tennis and golf, Rob. So I appreciate the platform. Of course, this year looks very different. No fans. So Flushing Meadows, in fact, the US Open actually has more fans than any other sporting event. Obviously, it is 2 weeks long, so take that into account. But if you think about that, there's normally about 150,000 fans.
It's a huge tournament.
150,000 fans that come through the doors. So think about that. There's literally going to be, there are about 10 people in the stadium at any one time. So it obviously looks completely different. Although
it's something we're used to now, to be fair.
It is. Yeah. Well, we're getting used to it fast. Absolutely.
Which is sad.
It is. The players are actually not allowed to leave their hotel rooms except for practice sessions and to attend matches. So you can imagine that you're basically locked in your hotel room for 2 weeks. some of the wealthier players like Djokovic and Serena Williams, they've actually rented out houses that can accommodate their whole training and medical team. Obviously, they're very loaded, so they can afford to basically book out an entire, house with like 6 or 7 rooms and a garden and this and that. But the players who can't afford to do that, which is a lot of them, believe it or not, even on the ATP Tour, they'll be in their hotel room for 2 weeks. So that's not exactly ideal.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
New York isn't the cheapest place on the planet by
absolutely not. And obviously, the nice thing about playing generally in a tournament like this is that you get to enjoy a bit of the nightlife and go out and eat and go to do some sightseeing, and that's all obviously not going to be happening this year. Just before we go into the outright bets, another reason this year's event will be very different is that there's some big names missing.
Yes.
On the men's side, Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal won't compete. And on the women's side, it's even more dire. I mean, world number 1, Ash Barty, number 2, Simona Halep, number 3, Bianca Andreescu, and then 7 other players in the top 20 won't be competing. So normally the women's draw is normally much more open than the men's anyway. But with all these players missing, I mean, anyone from number 4 to number 50, honestly, could potentially win this tournament. So from that perspective, it is quite interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot, like you said, a lot of potential for one of the lower seeded players to come through. And
yes.
I don't want to say it's caused an upset, but it would be a bit of an upset. But that's not something that we aren't used to. We've seen a couple of those over the last few years. So, anyone you fancy on the men's side?
Yeah. So, I as usual, Djokovic is the man to beat. Especially with Federer not around. Hard courts are Djokovic's best surface, even though, I mean, he can generally play on everything, but he's got more hard court titles than any other. He's won this event 3 times. As you can imagine, he's a stupidly short price. He's 4-5 to win the tournament, which is just unbackable under any circumstances, even if you consider, some of the top dogs around him missing. For an outsider bet, I really like Milos Raonic.
I was going to say snap there because that's who I have as well.
Right, I like his chances. I got him at 28 to 1. I think he's around 19 or so now.
I think the best price I saw when I was checking was 25, but most of those have been suspended. I actually need to see if I can find one on WSB. I'm not seeing one at the moment.
Yeah, the reason I really like him is that the courts are particularly hard and fast in New York, and this year in particular. So it's gonna help the big servers. They should have quite a distinct advantage. And what makes me even more confident in this is that the Cincinnati Open last week was actually hosted at Flushing Meadows because they wanted to give the players a taste of what the tournament would be like under the new COVID regulations. So we actually got a full week of the courts to see how they're playing, and they're playing really, really quick. So the big servers really should have an advantage. So I like this from a betting perspective, that we got to have a look at the courts and see how they're playing first. So I like Milos Raonic. I don't know if it's his new long hair or I don't know what it is, but he's got a swagger about him, and I just think that in these circumstances, it's a better chance than ever to come through. I think that it's going to be extremely, extremely tough to beat Djokovic. I think that a nice way to take this bet is to take it each way. Obviously, when you take an each way bet in tennis, it's basically a bet to make the final.
Make the final, yeah.
Essentially, except that if you take a to make the final bet, you're obviously not going to get paid more if the player wins. Whereas if you take it each way, you will obviously get more payout if the player does actually win the match. But Milos Raonic to make the final, essentially, or Milos Raonic each way at 22 to 1, I think is a decent bet.
There's still some good value there on Raonic, and he was my pick as well. I was going through a couple of previews before the podcast, and that was one name that popped up quite a lot. So I did a little digging, and it seemed to be a pretty good bet with some decent value, especially as you said, some of the biggest names in tennis are missing from the tournament. On the ladies' side, is there anything that you've or kind of caught your eye? I must admit I haven't had too close a look at the ladies' side of the betting.
Yeah, as I said, it's always a little bit more open on the ladies' side, just because you don't have these dominant characters like Nadal and Djokovic and Federer and so on. But I just think it's an absolute minefield this year. So I'm actually going to stay away entirely. I might have a couple bets on individual matches over the next 2 weeks, but in terms of outright, you've got anywhere up to they're players even in the 40s that are seeded 40 that have a chance of winning this. So, I probably would have liked the favorite actually if you were playing Ash Barty, but I think it's just an absolute minefield. So you could take a nice outside chance there, but I honestly wouldn't want to make any choices or selections there. I just think it's a wide open field.
Well, I was hoping that my Anna Ivanovic would come back from retirement to feature in one last tournament, but no luck there. I might have had a punt on her and had my eyes glued to the telly, but but I think I'm going to be staying away from the ladies, considering how open it is, as you said. Any match bets that you have for us? I know it's difficult to kind of give match bets because the matches are the odds are generally released on the morning of the match. And the odds that are released before do tend to swing back and forth as the results come in. So it's difficult to give any match picks, but are there any standout matches today that you might consider having a punt on?
To be honest, there's not, Rob. And there's a strategy that I use in tennis betting, which it's paid off for me quite well over the years, is I actually tend to, in terms of matches, I generally wait for the round of 16 before taking any bets because I always take a few outrights and I let those ride, of course. But I tend to wait because what tends to happen, especially in Grand Slams, is the cream really rises to the top. And you'll get players who will come in and there are lots of bomb outs in the first and second and even third rounds. And so you get more upsets. And I just find that if you can bet a lot more favorites as the tournament runs on, which I tend to do, especially on handicaps. So I don't. There's a couple of games that I certainly am interested in watching. Kuznetsov and Query today should be a good one. Query's also a big server, so I think he also stands a good chance. He also nearly made it into my outright picks. Murray is obviously coming out from a sort of semi-retirement.
I'm not sure what's going on there. I haven't been keeping up to date. What is the story with Andy Murray? He's retired. He's not retired. His mother's following him around. She's well, as always.
Yeah. His mother is something else, isn't she?
Yeah.
He's back. I mean, he actually had a fairly good game. He actually beat Zverev the other day, which was quite surprising. I didn't think Zverev was playing particularly well, but I think that he's one of these players. He's got quite an attitude, and I think he kind of doubts the sort of next gen of tennis quite a lot. And so he wants to prove all these new, young, up and coming players that they aren't all that. So I think he's going to be fun to watch. I've always enjoyed him as a player. A lot of people think he's kind of grumpy and
he is grumpy. Come on, he's a sad sack. I don't want to say the Afrikaans P word here, but that's what he comes across as.
He's just got quite a dry sense of humor, actually. But anyway, I'm interested to see him play again, and I don't think he will do very well. I think he'll probably get through a couple of rounds, but I'm not rating him. I think he might even hit a hurdle today when he plays Nishioka. I don't think that's going to be an easy match at all. But so 2 games today I've got my eye on is Query and Kuznetsov. As I said, Query a big server, should do well, and then Murray and Nishioka later on. So those should be good games. There's 32 games today, so there's quite a few big ones today too. So Pair is always fun to watch. Except for Pair, I think has actually just come down with coronavirus, so I think he's out of action. I don't know if any listeners know Benoit Pair, but he's also another character in tennis who is always full of antics, kind of like Nick Kyrgios, I guess.
Oh God, yeah. So, yeah. Can't stand him either.
Yeah, that's it for the tennis, Rob.
Okay, and then some golf, Simon. There's got a bit of a golf tournament coming up this weekend. You said it was the last one for the golf tour.
Yeah, it's the Tour Championship. So again, if you're a golf nerd like me, I'm not sure how many of them there are around, but yeah, you'll be super excited that the Tour Championship is this weekend. What I really like about this event is it's the top 30 players in the world based on their FedEx points for the season. So, we were actually talking about this the other week, Rob, how generally you have a field of between 150 and 160 players. And especially from a betting perspective, it can be an absolute minefield to kind of navigate your way through that. So what I like about this tournament is that it's 30 of the best players in terms of their form basically over the last season, and then they crown an ultimate champion. But one thing that they've changed, and they changed it last year, and they're using this format again, which I'm really not a fan of. So I'm a little disappointed. I actually only found this out this morning. Is what they're doing is they're actually handicapping the players according to their position.
So, handicapping them on the tee, or
yes. So for instance, Dustin Johnson, who's finished with the most FedEx points, will start the tournament at 10 under, right?
Okay.
Then John Rahm, who's got the second most amount of points, will start at 8 under, and Justin Thomas will start at 7 under.
Oh, so they're actually handicapping the strokes rather than handicapping them on the tee box. Sorry, I thought they were putting them, like 10 meters back on the tee box or something like that.
Oh, sorry. Yes, no. Sorry, I should have made that
clear. That's crazy.
So I get what the PGA are trying to do here is they want to make sure that a player like Dustin Johnson, who has the most FedEx points, has the best chance of being crowned the overall tour champion. So they're trying to make sure that
it's a reflection of the season, I guess.
Right, to make it fair. But my argument then would be, then why have the tournament at all? Just give him the championship.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, give him the championship.
I'm looking at this 2-1, and I'm wondering why it's so short.
Right. So to me, it's just a 10-stroke lead for the top player.
That's crazy.
Get out of here.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, you can finish a tournament, at 10 under and comfortably winning.
Absolutely.
So
I kind of feel it's almost just like an ego stroking exercise. To be honest, they're like, oh, poor Dustin Johnson. Imagine he finishes the season and doesn't win the final tournament. How sad will he be? Let's give him a head start. I just really think it's. I think it's pathetic, honestly.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'd rather see players. I mean, just looking at obviously who's playing. You've got Mark Leishman, and Kevin Na as the bottom, the kind of outsiders at 500 to 1.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why Leishman is 500 to 1. It just makes sense now, considering that
yes,
he's probably going to start with I don't know if they're going to start with a plus handicap or maybe a 0 handicap. But he's got a whole lot of shots to catch up to the leader before the rounds even started.
That's right. So they've used an algorithm, and how it works is that so there are about 4 or 5 players that start on even, and then from like 20, 24, 23, they start on like -1, and it goes all the way up to -10, obviously, at the top with Dustin Johnson. So no one starts on a plus, but there are only about 4 or 5 players who start on even, and then the players above that are, graded accordingly. But I just think that I understand that, you want it to be a reflection of where the players ended up, but you're not essentially having a golf tournament that way. I mean, I just don't see a way to beat Dustin Johnson at this point. Starting with 10 strokes. I mean, sure, maybe one of those players up there like Rahm or Thomas, who are only 2 or 3 strokes behind him, could catch him. But what's the point in someone like Mark Leishman, who's starting the match, 10 strokes behind the leader? Why would he even want to play?
Exactly. Yeah. Why would you even want to play in the tournament? It's like, hey, let's go down and have a game of Sunday football, and we'll start with a 3-goal lead. Good luck, and we're the best players. So
Yeah. Exactly. So I just think it's very democratic, but I just think in terms of watchability and in terms of value for all the players, I just think if you're so concerned about the winner being the winner, then just make him the champion as soon as the season's over.
Yeah, crown him.
Forget the Tour Championship, because as I said, this is an event which I've always really looked forward to. And last year, I thought, when they had this handicap system, I thought it was just something they were trying out, but I see now they're doing it again, and
that's crazy.
my weekends are ruined, basicking.
I wonder if we would have seen someone like Donald Trump on the outright list, what kind of handicap they would have been given, seeing as how much golf he plays. I'm sure.
There we go.
I'm sure even Dustin Johnson wouldn't be able to make up that lead that he would be given. But any value outside of let's say the top 3. I mean, those odds just are looking very, very short on Johnson, Rahm, and Thomas. I mean, Thomas, I'm looking at on WSB 6 to 1.
It's very tough. It's very tough. I think. I to be honest, I'm having to reevaluate everything, seeing that with this handicap system. But I think DeChambeau at 25 to 1, Bryson DeChambeau. We chatted about him on the podcast before. He's the guy who uses all his clubs are actually the same length. Yeah, he's an interesting fella. He's playing really good golf at the moment. I think 25 to 1 is a decent price. He's obviously not starting at 10 under, but he's going to be a few strokes behind Justin Johnson. But I think that's an okay price. I quite like Schauffele, Xander Schauffele.
Yeah, I was looking at that name. I was like, geez, Xander Schauffele.
Xander Schauffele, yeah. So those are probably two golfers which I have my eye on. But I just think with this system, it almost makes it's a betting minefield too, because you just what to expect.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe some tournament matchups I'll look at, players versus players, because obviously they won't be handicapped then, but I haven't had an opportunity yet to look at those. So I might look at some 72-hole matchups between a couple of players and approach the betting that way.
And McIlroy at 25-1, not interested?
Maybe. I mean, McIlroy he's almost on my no bet list. I have a few players across sport that I just refuse to bet on. Like one of them is Gael Monfils in tennis.
That guy gives up, eh?
I think I've had about 25 bets on him, never won one of them. McIlroy is also on that list to me. He's such a hard character to predict, and sometimes he will go for a consistent run, and the day that I bet on him, that run ends.
Yeah,
believe me, he's one of those players to me. So I find it hard to bet on him, and generally he's always there's zero value on him generally. I think that in this instance there might be a little bit, but generally speaking, because the bookmakers obviously take so much action on the players like that, their odds are generally priced too short.
Yeah, and I think it's as you said earlier, it's an important factor to take into consideration is the handicap. But I think there could be some value on some of the players you mentioned. I've got them up on WSB at the moment, and I think anyone from around 25-1 to maybe Matsuyama at 33-1 might be worth considering if you're willing to go have a look at some of the deeper statistics and see how the players are actually doing.
Yeah,
because you're going to get a bit more value than you would normally. Although your bet probably has a lot less chance of winning due to the bigger handicaps high up the board.
Yeah, I suggest anyone who does want to bet the tournament, just type up, in Google, just Google Tour Championship handicaps and just have a look at and see where all the players are starting. So don't get too caught up in the prices until you realize where these players are starting off, because you might look at a price and think, oh, that's a big number, but that player might be starting 5 or 6 strokes behind the leader. So just be careful of that.
So play with caution, as Simon says. Any other sports caught your eye for the upcoming week?
No, that's it, Rob. I think I'm going to be pretty busy with the US Open tennis and the Tour Championship. So yeah, it should be a good one.
So lots to look forward to this weekend at least, and hopefully you can pick up a couple winners. I think I'm definitely going to have a stab at this golf, just more out of morbid curiosity with this whole handicap story. I'll definitely have a punt there, and I think I might have a outright punt on the US Open as well. I don't have too many other bets that I'm looking forward to this week. I'm more stuck on the casino and bet game side of things at the moment, but I think once sports opens up again, well, not opens up, kind of restarts, I'll be having a look at some more bets. Guys, thanks for tuning into this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Simon, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Rob. It's been great.
It's been great having you as always, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to visit our site, Facebook and Twitter pages. Let's go make some money.